My name is Joshua Richards, part of the leadership team at the UK OSINT Community and founder of OSINT Praxis. If you are watching this video as a replay on YouTube, just be aware this might be a long one. This is a much longer CTF for us to walk through. And this is a live recording of the actual live session done here in Discord. So this may not be edited, so you'll have to go through the long video. You can skip through to the parts that you need. Here, for everyone in the Discord right now, always use the chat. You can click the icon here to get into the chat and communicate with us throughout the session. Feel free to ask any questions throughout. Happy to answer those. We have others in the chat as well who can help you out with anything. And at the end of the session, we'll come to the Q&A where you are welcome to ask any questions you have, both about the CTF or about OSINT in general or anything else that you have. So before we get into the actual CTF walkthrough, few things to go through first. One is that we finally hit 500. So after just a few weeks of the CTFs being live, we recently just got over 500 members who have now signed up to participate in the CTF, which is great. It's good to see that everyone is really engaging with this and actually finding a good challenge. And we love seeing the write-ups as well. We definitely want to see more people doing write-ups of these challenges so that more people can learn from them. Because even if you have completed it and you think, oh, someone else has completed it and has already done a write-up, your write-up will be completely different to theirs in the mindset you have and the way you actually go about solving things. So we love seeing people do more write-ups. And let's see here. We also have some statistics here. We were just looking a bit at these before the call, and we want to see some more green on this bar. Just a quick note, I can see everything that people are entering for their answers, and some common things I see is that people overcomplicate the answers, and they will try spamming in and guessing random things and forget that they haven't actually tried yet the main reasonable answer. So always start more basic, and then you can widen out from there. But that's what I would recommend for people. And yeah, we want to see more green on the bar. So let's go. Okay. And before we get into it, the winners for this, because as you know, this CTF actually had some prizes from Forensic OSINT. The prizes were 6 weeks elite tier on their Forensic OSINT software. And for that, we have our 3 winners here. And second place, Zycher actually decided to give their prize to 4th place, which was Seclist. And so I hope that you will all enjoy those and get some good use out of it across those 6 weeks. And as I said, this is just typically going to be for the first week of every month. So make sure you stick around for those and participate in the other ones too. Get that practice going for when we get those special weeks where we do have the prizes so that you're ready for them. And, you will be the next person to win the prizes, hopefully. Okay. So let's get into the walkthrough for this week. So this week's challenge is called The Disappearance of Owen Hughes. Initially, it was a different name that had the surname Hughes. And because of a certain show that lots of people got the reference of, and we'll get to that a bit later on, we just changed it to this because it was more funny for us. So we changed it to The Disappearance of Owen Hughes. And the first challenge that we have here, this one wasn't really much of a challenge. It was just to introduce the challenge and give you the initial files you needed, just to give you a chance to go around, get introduced with the case, read the briefing, see some of the initial photography, and so on. So we have 74 solves on this one. So we have at least 74 people who started this. And I think there's, only around 10. There might be a bit more now, but around 10 solves for the actual final challenge. So it has been a very challenging one for everyone. So let me go here. So once you download this file, the actual zip file that's provided to you here, this is what you will see. So you get the case file, which is a PDF, and we'll go into that now. And then you have some photos. So with the photos, we'll get into that. Let me go to the PDF first. So the PDF is basically your briefing to get more information about what is this case all about. So it says that you're like the private investigator, and the client is the Hughes family in North Wales. The missing person is Owen Hughes, 19 years old, with this date of birth. And last known location is in Llandudno, North Wales. Suspected destination somewhere in South Wales. Then we have his background, the concerns. I believe it mentions in here about maybe the girlfriend and, maybe he's getting into some other social circles that aren't serving him so well. And then what are our objectives? So using open source intelligence, you must determine where Owen is likely staying, whether he appears safe and is acting freely, whether there are signs he needs support or safeguarding, and what the family should do next based on the evidence you find. Then some rules of engagement and all of that. And fun thing here, which is not relevant to anything else, but if you do look in the document properties, the author of this document is Dave Coaches, which is also someone from that TV show that Owen Hughes is in. Random, I just love random Easter egg things like that. Okay. So then the imagery that we have here as well, we have one of the Hughes family. So that has our missing person, Owen Hughes, here on the left, parents, and a sister. We were going to add a challenge possibly about the tattoo, but didn't end up adding that. But this is kind of a tattoo of the Wales flag. Not the flag fully, but the Wales kind of dragon there. And then we have a photo of the bedroom with, so that's the TV show. You might see that this TV show is Gavin and Stacey. So we have that on the laptop there. We have some other Welsh things around the bedroom. There's some kind of gold, stand. And you can see that in the reflection of the mirror, the gold stand with a book on it. That comes up later as well. Interesting to see who noticed that and not. I know that some people noticed it straight away, that something stood out there and it's a bit strange, while others may have just brushed past that. So that's interesting there. We'll come back to that. And then we have the Polaroid, and we'll come to that in question 2 as well. And then we have Owen, and it says partial corruption here for no other reason than it just messed up the photo. Like when we were upscaling it, because we needed a good quality photo, we were upscaling it and it just like messed up some of it. And I didn't want to have to like keep redoing these upscales and getting these issues. So I just said partial corruption, but that's all it meant. I was thinking today, I wonder if someone actually tried like doing anything special because of that, but that's all it is. And so again, here, some people might have noticed, some might not have. We made it a really big, high quality photo so that it wasn't too clear. I didn't want like a really zoomed in picture of the dog so that you can clearly see this. But if you do zoom in, you can actually see that on the dog's tag, it does have a number here and the name Smithy. So I'll come back to this again. Just to let you know, a big part of this challenge that me and my friend created, Lewis, I wanted it to be not just, okay, this question, now move to the next question, and that's all you have to think about. Now the next one, and that's all you have to think about. I really wanted to like intertwine different parts of the case to really reward your like note-taking skills and, how you're actually preserving different pieces of information that you found previously, because that then comes up. Like things you might have seen in these initial files from question 1, you need at like question 11, things like that. So that was a big goal for me in this. So we have that anyway. And again, this isn't something you can even use right now. but maybe you noticed it, which is great. Lots of people won't have noticed it. And this is why I didn't want a photo like this, where you can like easily see that the tag is there. We wanted a zoomed out photo, so you had to specifically look for it to actually realize that that is there. Anytime there's a picture with a dog or any kind of like pet, always look for that. Okay, so now the first question here just simply asks us for the person's name, year of birth, and the city where they are based usually. Just like I said, it's not a hard challenge. It's just to basically have you go through the document and then we move on. So OSINT UK, and I actually have them all here as well. So let me go over here and I will put that in. Again, as I always say, just to quickly say again for anyone who's new, we do use these formats like OSINT UK and then the brackets, and always make sure you pay good attention to the answer format instructions, because certain ones will tell you to remove punctuation, others won't tell you to do that. So, you know, it's not like one size fits all. Always make sure you read that for each individual question. There we go. Now we pass on to challenge number 2, a bittersweet memory. So with this one, it tells us to go back to the image we had in the folder here of the Polaroid. And it's asking us what this is actually referencing, because this image, we have the Polaroid, it's got a handwritten date on it, and then it says, our favorite spot, why did Kelly have to go? A huge amount of people seemed to think that Kelly was the dog. But again, if you'd have seen the collar, the tag, you would know the dog is not called Kelly. So that would have helped there as well. But let's see. So let me go back quickly to the question. It says here as the main question, identify the name of the entity Owen is referring to in that note. So what is Kelly referring to in that? Again, lots of people were typing dog, Kelly dog, and dog Kelly, and like all of these random things. But what we actually had to do is first geolocate the image and then find out what happened there on that date. So if you've watched these walkthroughs previously, you'll know that I practically always use Photopia at some point. So if we open up that image, let me do that here. So we open up the Polaroid. Now, what you can do is, for me personally, I always just open images here because it's so much easier for me to then go and search it wherever I want, because I use these browser extensions like search by image. So this search by image extension just allows me to click any of these things, and there's loads more options to pick from as well. And then I can go ahead and search it rather than me going to Google, uploading the image and searching it. Now I just have it here as like my main base, and then I can search it on Google, and then I can instantly search it on Yandex or all of them at once. And it's just so much easier for me personally. So now I can select just the actual image part here. It has the text, doesn't usually matter. Then that takes me straight into Google. Oh, that's fun. Let's see if this one actually comes up. You sometimes will have to play around with it. It depends. Yeah, there you go. So you'll notice with Google, it selects smaller parts. You will usually have to kind of drag it out wider. Let's see. Google is always an awkward one with this. There you go. So now that we've actually searched the whole image, we do have these different ones here. Like this is the actual image, and that does say Llandudno Pier. We know that's where he's from as well. So that is likely going to be the location. There is some others here around as well, which did identify it. When I first tested it, it didn't come up with this original, but it came up with others like it. You can see here, related search, Llandudno Pier, things like that. So now we just need to search. We could just go to Google and do a search for Llandudno Pier. And we can search the date. So 7 December 2024. We could literally just enter that, and we see some news articles here. Storm Dara. So it's referencing a Storm Dara that happened around this date. And it says here in this one from Wales Online, I realize on my main Chrome browser, I have like the AI activated as well. And the AI, I think, usually would give you the answer when you just run a search like this. But even here, Wales Online, Storm Dara wrecks pier as entire ice cream kiosk blows. So we can go into ones like this and just read more about what's actually happened on that date. And we know that we're looking for something related to the name Kelly. So we can try searching that through. And here you go. You see here an update from the pier this morning detailed the devastation. Kelly's ice cream unit has completely gone. So this is very likely going to be what this is referring to. Kelly's ice cream unit was on that pier and it blew away because of the storm on that particular date at where the photo was taken. So this is the answer. This one mentions to get rid of the punctuation. So you have to get rid of the apostrophe here. And this one was confusing to lots of people, I think. Not even the process, because loads of people had the answer, but they were just putting in things like Kelly's ice cream unit, Kelly's ice cream parlor, Kelly's ice cream hut, and like so many different options, but didn't once try Kelly's ice cream on its own until they finally did get it. But they were going back and forth, trying the other ones they'd already tried multiple times like that, but never trying the actual just normal name. And the reason the question here says identify the name of the entity, I didn't want to make it clear that it was like a business or anything, because like I said, loads of people just instantly assumed that Kelly was the dog, things like that. So I wanted that to be available to think. I was curious, what will people actually think and do if I don't make it clear what it is? So that was interesting to see. But entity, you find this business, I would just start off always with the normal name, because if I search this, like Kelly's ice cream, Llandudno, you see on Google it says Kelly's ice cream, TripAdvisor, Kelly's ice cream. Like the actual entity, the business itself, is not called Kelly's ice cream unit or hut or parlor or any of that. That's just what I kind of thought would be a good place for you to start, like try out this first. If this happened to be wrong, then you could go on to the other options, but typically I would start off with the main entity name in these kinds of things. Okay, so we have OSINT UK. Fill in the underscores, get rid of the apostrophe, and there we go, we get that one correct. Jyoti in the chat, fun fact, I've actually got an ice cream from Kelly's ice cream before. Nice. Was that actually here? Or I don't know, do they have multiple locations around or something? Okay, then the next question, the drone footage. This one I think lots of people got pretty quickly, but I did see some people asking questions around it because they were struggling and couldn't get the correct answer. So with this one, it gives you a video file to download, and I've got that here. Let me bring that up. So here's the drone footage. So it's going around. You can see kind of some cars here. We seem to be on like a coastal area with the beach. And at the end here, you can now see we have more of a view. So this is the area where it's good to actually search. Not the first part of the video, but search it more here, where you actually have a better view of all of the houses, the landscape, the car park. You have everything. So you're giving it a bit more to actually search in terms of reverse image searching. So again, what I would personally do is I just take a screenshot, crop over this area here. Then I go back to Photopia again. You can just open one, and just so you know with Photopia as well. So I just took a screenshot, which has basically copied the image. I don't save it. I just press print screen on my keyboard. Windows allows me to take the screenshot. That saves it to your clipboard. So now you can basically paste it in somewhere. When you do that, Photopia is going to automatically have the correct dimensions for the image that is in your clipboard currently. So you can see when I create that, it's already, okay, let me go out. It's because I had to allow the permissions first. Now you can see the width and height is different and it's customized to the image. So now we have that full image here. And once again, I can just use the search by image extension, go to something like Google, crop around it, and run a search. Then straight away, you can see here, related search, Ogmore by Sea. All of these things, Ogmore by Sea, Ogmore Beach, everything all about Ogmore. That is the correct answer, Ogmore by Sea. And you can also see here that I usually try to give examples that hopefully will help you to avoid more confusion. Because like I mentioned, the previous question told you to remove punctuation, but this one doesn't. That's why every question is kind of unique. You need to read the instructions every time. Because the reason I sometimes remove the punctuation is because, like in the China OSINT one, Chinese business names have like a comma and a full stop next to each other in the business name, alongside like spaces and all of this stuff. And I feel like that can lead to confusion. And because you have to be very precise with the answers, because it will be incorrect if you aren't exactly precise, it's just so much easier to give these instructions to remove that stuff. But with an answer like this, like the hyphens are a part of that location name. So I would rather just keep them, and hyphens, it's not that complicated. They're part of the location name. So I just leave them. So let me grab that. And there we go. That one is correct. Okay, so now you can see once we've solved that one, that actually opens up two challenges. We have a side quest, the vanished mansion, and we have static on the line. So we'll do the side quest first, and then we'll continue on. I really liked the idea of having the side quests because it just gave an opportunity to introduce some other angles for different challenges where it didn't really have any sway or any kind of influence on the main storyline, but it still gave a chance to add in some extra points and give people some interesting new techniques and ideas to look at. So with this side quest, this comes from us just finding that location in Ogmore by Sea. It now says, while investigating the area near the drone footage, you might stumble upon the history of a grand estate that once dominated the cliffs. And that's talking about Dunraven Castle. And it says, to earn these bonus points, you must look back at the mansion's peak. So in 1888, there was architectural plans that were published from those architects, and that detailed some new changes to the building. So you have to find that and identify, it says here, in the northwest wing, right next to the bedroom and dressing room, there's a specific private room with a curved bay window. What is the name of this room that's written on the plan? And this is one where I saw so many people guessing random stuff. I saw that some guesses were fair because they had just found a certain version of the image where it was hard to read. So they were trying to read it and guessing wrong. But some people were guessing like complete random rooms that they just assumed buildings had back then. And so, yeah, that's not the best approach to go about that. And the reason I chose this as an answer is because it sounds pretty weird. The answer is quite strange. Like I'd never heard of that before. So I knew it would never be something anyone is able to guess, most likely. So for this one, we now need to look for that document that it references here. So if we go back to Google, let's actually copy and paste the name of the architect. So it says Williams, West, and Slade. I can just enter those in quotations. That might not matter. And then we can go like Dunraven. And you can see even just with this, so the names of the architects and Dunraven, we get these couple results here, like from Abe Books, 1888, which is the year we're looking for, as it referenced in the question. Dunraven Castle, Glamorganshire. And you can see here there's actually an image. And I think this is maybe what lots of people found initially. And that's what was leading to some of those incorrect guesses. So if you look at this, it's a bit hard to see at first because you can zoom in, but you can't zoom in any further than this. I'm trying to zoom in like with control in my scroll wheel, but it does not let me zoom in here. And if you try right clicking and open image in new tab, you might see that it's very small. But a good thing to always remember, even though, if you open that in a new tab, it's small. If you open it first, this is now technically a different image that is much bigger. So now if you right click here and open image in new tab, we have a much bigger image. And you can then again zoom into that much more. But in this version, it's a bit blurry. So you can see that here is the floor plan. This is the floor plan we're looking for. And it mentions here, so it mentions the northwest wing. And next to the bedroom, this is the bedroom and the dressing room. And we're looking for that one with the curved bay window. So that's this. So this is what we're looking for. But lots of people were struggling to read this. So they thought it was like a gun room. So lots of guesses were for gun room. But it's actually own room, like OWN room, own room. And so, you can kind of see that, but it is difficult to read. So what I personally did initially, like when I was creating this challenge, I didn't even see this. I actually found the original document, which is from, well, at least you can find it on Google Books. So for example, I mean, this one here is telling us like, 1888, it mentions kind of the builder. So the publication that had this document and this image is The Builder, London, 1888. And I won't do it now, but you can ask AI as well, or probably just even do Google searches. And it does come up telling you that it's like volume 54 of that publication. And so if we go The Builder, say 1888, you can go like, let's just say Google Books. So you can see here, I don't know if that's maybe this, or I don't know if I'll come across the right one. Yeah, I think this. So The Builder, 1888. It is on the Wayback Machine as well. So you might have found it on the Wayback Machine. But I just found it here, which seemed a bit easier. Have The Builder. You can search on this, but again, it's really hard to zoom in. So it's much better if you can just go up to the cog up here and actually just download the PDF. That will then download it to your system. And I've got that somewhere here. Let's see. The Builder. So I've got that here, and we'll see if it lets me do this quickly because it is quite a big document. I think it has over 900 pages. Here we go. So now that the PDF is loaded up, we can run a search for Dunraven, go through the results. Here we go. So this is the page we were looking for with the sketch. And then you can zoom into this one as much as you want, and it's just a bit better quality. Like now you can clearly read that this is an OWN, so it's an own room rather than gun room. So it's much clearer in this actual PDF copy from Google Books. There you go. So let's go to that. OSINT UK. Own room. There you go, that is correct. Now the next one, static on the line. This one, again, this is actually one of the ones I thought would be the most difficult because it is just a matter of listening to the audio. I don't really have anything too fancy to show here. There are tools that lots of people might have used. For example, there's Audacity, where you can play around with audio files, try to maybe, get rid of different background noise. But the thing is with this one, you need to listen to the background noise. And there's all of these different AI tools that help you to kind of isolate voices. But the point with this one is, if you are going to try those tools, the idea I was trying to do is like you need to dim down or get rid of the main voice while not getting rid of the announcement voice in the background, which is really hard to do. So luckily with some, you are able to just kind of hear the announcement anyway. You don't technically need to do anything fancy here. So let me actually, I don't know if you'll even be able to hear it on my system. I might not have like the audio on, but this is that. I don't know if you could hear that, but either it doesn't matter. You can listen to that on your own system anyway. But basically there's the main audio, which we've transcribed here. So you didn't have to try and like understand that. And then there's a train announcement in the background. And it's actually like one of the official announcements from the official audio files they use. And it's spoken in Welsh, saying, "Welcome to," and the correct answer is Cardiff Central, but it says it all in Welsh. So it says, "Croeso I Caerdydd Canolog," which is like, "Welcome to Cardiff Central." So a way that some people solved it is basically just looking what train stations are in Wales. And then, you could ask AI as well, like what train stations are in Wales and give me their Welsh versions. So then you would have a list of all of like the main train stations in Wales and you have their Welsh version. And then you can just kind of listen to the audio. And even though you might not understand what it says, you can then try to piece together, not even piece together, but just compare it against the list you have. Because, for example, that last word is a bit clearer where it says like canolog. And I think I was speaking with some people and they said that there was maybe only 2 results for that. There's like 2 names where there's like Wrexham Canolog and Caerdydd Canolog. So you have 2 options there for that one word if you were able to pick that out. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see more write-ups and hear from people how they got on with that one. I'm sure many people will have just guessed it because Cardiff is the capital city of Wales. So I'm sure lots of people will have just tried to guess the main train stations like that. But I'm curious if anyone did get any luck with really playing around with the audio file and making that announcement be really clear. I'm curious to see how people did that. So, okay, let's just go on from that. There we go. But yeah, audio forensic stuff is something I definitely want to do a lot more of as well. It would be cool if we can do some videos of that in the future to look through and go through a bit more. So I know I'm kind of going a bit quick over that one, but we will hopefully do some more things in the future where we can show tools like Audacity and do a bit more with that. So the next one here is one that lots of people got stuck on, where it's called digital footprint. And let's see here. So we have static on the line where it had 30 solves now. And then digital footprint where we've got 19 solves. So definitely lots of people who started to struggle with this one. And this one wasn't really something me and Lewis thought was even going to be one that people get stuck on. I thought people would get really stuck on the audio file and things like that. We didn't really think about this one at all. But to be fair, it is difficult because it's just, there's no fancy technique. I don't really have anything special to show you right here in this walkthrough. It was just a matter of a bit of trial and error. Like, we made it a relatively easy username. And as it mentions in the text here, it says that people often include personal identifiers when creating usernames to make them easier to remember. When searching for a specific individual, it's worth considering various combinations of their name and significant words or numbers. You will likely need to experiment with several formats to find the right profile. So that's all it is. It is pretty much just a bit of trial and error, trying like their name with the different separators, like a dot, underscore, things like that in between them. And then, significant numbers, like it mentions, year of birth, date of birth, the last 2 digits from the year of birth, and things like that. So again, curious to hear how others got on with that, and if you had any special way. No doubt there's probably like scripts out there that exist, or maybe you could make just to go to Twitter with various different combinations and automate the process. But I'm not sure. Maybe that's hard with Twitter if they block it or something. So the idea was just have a play around, a bit of trial and error, try some different combinations, and see where you get. But with this one, it was complicated, I suppose, because if you just search Owen Hughes on Twitter, like in the search, I don't think it comes up. There's too many, and it's a new account, so it doesn't really come up. But again, this is one where so many people were just going through the entire list of results, entering them all, like entering the username and the ID for every Owen Hughes in the entire results list. Even though, but for the CTFs, typically it will be, when it's like a fictional character like this, where the images were like AI'd and it's more of a fictional character, which I believe it said. Oh, I don't know. I can't remember if it specifically said yet. It said somewhere that these were like, fictional things. That's why don't like do any like doxing or things like that, because these are all just characters. It's going to be more likely to be a fake account that we've created. And so, for example, in the profile picture, this is the answer here. Owen_Hughes 06, 06 being 2006 in his year of birth. Just a underscore between his name. That's the answer. And you'll see that the profile picture is of him. It matches the other photos you've already seen of him initially. We've got Llandudno here, joined very recently when we created it, and things like that. So lots of people were just entering random ones of accounts with like 3,000 tweets that were created years ago, and like verified accounts and all of this different stuff, which weren't likely to be correct. And then I know that when we got a bit later on in the challenges or later on in the days, and the prizes has already gone, so we were, giving a bit more hints and stuff like that in the Discord. As some people rightly said, like when you find the answer, you're going to know. I know this was trial and error, but we're not going to just make you have to randomly guess like hundreds of accounts. You will know when you found the correct answer. And after people got given that hint, they, still kind of were just submitting random ones. But so just bear that in mind. When you find an answer, typically, maybe not always, but typically, especially with things like this, you will know when it's the right person because, you have a photo of him. We're not going to use one which is a complete different person and things like that. So let's go here. So this one is asking us for the username and the user ID. So we've got the username here. So we can go OSINT UK and enter the username and then underscore. And now we need the user ID. So you might have like bookmarklets or tools and things like that. But we can just go to inspect element, search for identifier. And you see here in the identifier, it then has the number next to it. That is the ID. There we go. So that one is correct. Good. Back to the chat. Okay, so now the next one, this is a very basic one here, the name behind the screen. So while reviewing Owen's public X posts, you notice something important, a personal detail that strongly suggests who he's been spending time with since arriving in Cardiff. So identify the name of Owen's girlfriend. And so back on the Twitter, you can see in the one tweet that they have, it's written in Welsh. You can, I believe, translate it. It says, running with Emina to clear our heads. Not sure if that did the trick, though. Hoping things will clear up soon. So the name of his girlfriend is Emina. We were going to do different challenges with that as well. Like, we were going to maybe have an image of the girlfriend in that initial pack somewhere, where maybe they had like a lanyard with only the first two letters of their name. And so that could have been lots of things. And then a later challenge showed the last few letters, which helped you narrow down the list of options and like all this stuff. But we just didn't end up doing that and kind of forgot and then included it in the tweet. So we just left it at that. But that was a basic one there. Then there's another side quest that opened up on that last one as well, which is while reviewing Owen's X profile, something in his biography stands out. Doesn't look like a standard personal description. Instead, it reads more like a specific reference or a quote lifted from popular culture. Again, here, when things are worded like this, I basically am just trying to not make it so easy as to what it is. I don't want to say, what TV show is it from? I wanted to try like leave it a bit more open so that you have to look up what it is. You know, it could be like some book or TV show or movie, and like all of these different things that it could be a reference to, so that it doesn't just direct you and, you know, like you just type it in somewhere straight away and get it. This one is basic anyway, but you know what I mean. So this one is talking about the bio. So we have here, and before you ask, no, I don't. So that is a reference to the show we've already discussed, Gavin and Stacey. That was on the laptop. It's the name of the author of that initial PDF. And this again is just a reference to that show, Gavin and Stacey. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know if this will bring it up. Yeah, you can literally even just search that on its own and it straight away comes up with like Wales. Can anyone help me with this silly joke from Gavin and Stacey? And yeah, I recommend watching it if anyone hasn't. It's such a good show. And that joke as well. Like, it's not even a joke. I think the point of it was that it doesn't even make sense. So that's why it's such like a widely known thing now from the show, where it's just like it never made sense to anyone. So yeah. But yeah, this is the answer here, Gavin and Stacey. Go. There we go. So now the next one that opens up is the coded twist. This one has 15 solves, which is really good. Following the latest developments in Cardiff, we have received a direct message from one of Owen's close friends back home in North Wales. So this friend has contacted us privately to pass on a message that Owen has sent to him. We now need to decode this message because he sent it encrypted so that no one else could read it. And the message from the friend says, my name is Justin. Owen's parents told me you're helping them to find him. You must keep this to yourself, but Owen sent me a message. He coded it because no one else can find out about this. Find the right book and you'll understand everything. So, and yeah, in the chat here, that's where I lost it. I've used English version of the book. Yeah. That's why, like, I mean, with the book that you find, I guess it's in it. I used the version of the Welsh one in the like the front cover, you know, things like that. So I was trying to hopefully, I didn't know that even was an English version, but I hoped that would just be what people search. Like they see the front cover, they go and search the name from that, and then would come across the Welsh version because the front cover was in Welsh. So this now says about the book, it says find the right book and you'll understand everything. So, like I said at the start, some people already kind of identified the book because it just stood out when they were analyzing that imagery at the start. But if not, you just have to go back through and have a look, like, where is there a book that could be the correct thing? So if we go back and go to those images, we can see in the bedroom image that there's this book, and I put it on like a golden stand, like a golden shelf, just to make it stand out more, I guess, and it seems a bit strange. So this book is the one which is the special book that we need to solve this challenge. And it's reflected as well because it's in the mirror. So again, something we can do here is just put that into Photopia. And then go here, bedroom. And then you can literally just go like edit, transform, and flip horizontally. Now you'll be able to read that. Like it's in Welsh, but you can then go and do a search for that. So I believe that's, watch me butcher the spelling as well. Was it like that? Yeah, the certain things like have different weird things on it, but you can see, I think this is it. And there's different resources. You could probably, again, give something like that to the AIs and that would tell you what it is and give you links directly to the resources. But this is basically a children's book that they, well, at least, I don't know, a book they use in schools to help with reading. And so it's often in these things from like the hub, because that's where lots of the learning resources are. And so you can see here, that's where it is there. It looks weird because the O is on top, but actually it's a part of this final word. So that might have been a bit complicated there, but this is the one here. So you can go ahead, look at the PDF, and this is the full PDF copy of that book in Welsh. And then you can go ahead and like download it, or you don't need to download it. You can just do it directly from this. And then the point of the code is that this is a book cipher. So usually it can differ, but usually it's things like the page number first. So like the 4 here is going to be the page number. Then the 6 is going to be the 6th word on that page. And then the 1 means the first letter of that word. Sometimes it might be things like the chapter. And we wanted to do that to make it a bit different, but then we couldn't find a good book to use, and this book didn't really have much chapters, so we just did it this way instead. But it can be different, but typically page, word, letter. So for example, 461, if you go then to page 4, which is here, the 6th word, which is this, and then 1. I think a complicated thing about this is that like sometimes the PDF has spaces, which are just like formatting errors. So there was like spaces, even though it was a single word. So that complicated things a little bit. And things like the 1-letter words and all of this different stuff got confusing a bit. But this is the first letter, which is F. And I won't go through it all, but you basically just had to do that for them all to get the answer. And I believe the AI can do it. Let me see if this, yeah, it did do it. So hold on. Let me just get this over to show you. So you can see here, I just went to Gemini, Google Gemini. I gave it the PDF. So I downloaded the PDF of the book, uploaded that to Gemini, and just said, use the following PDF that I've attached, and then look at the numbers and digits I give you below. And I do this all verbally. Like I just use the microphone thing and I just talk verbally to tell it what to do. And I just told it, use the numbers. It means the page, the number of the page, the word, the letter. And it literally just automatically went through and said, based on the book cipher provided, here is the decoded plaintext. And it did do it perfectly. Last time I tried, it messed up because of the formatting stuff, but this time it's literally done it perfectly. Family abuse. A family abused me, not safe. Because me and Lewis worked on this, and then when Lewis wrote it this way, I thought it was like family abuse, me not safe. But no, it turns out family abuse me, not safe. So it's like it's not safe for you to, identify my location and give it to them because the family abused me. So yeah, it's not safe for you to do that. And you should like kind of help me just stay hidden from them, things like that. So this is the answer, which again, you just need to go ahead and put the underscores into that. There we go. Just looking at the Discord chat here. He's saying about me, like user 0, user 1. I have like so many different accounts. There's probably like 3 or 4 different emails on that one, and then loads others on my other browsers and everything. So yeah. Masked Man, you did it manually. Nice. We did it manually too to make it and to verify it. So, we suffered in the manual process of making it too. So I'm glad that you went through manually and solved it that way. All right. Oh, manually in the English book is a bit of a bit not so great. Okay, so the next one here, a familiar stop. Investigators update the decoded message from the previous task, changes everything. We were hired to reunite a family, but the evidence now suggests that home might be the most dangerous place for Owen. But we cannot just provide his location, but we need to keep going to not kind of give away that we know that. And we don't want them to just go and hire a new person who doesn't care or doesn't know about this. So we need to keep going and still identify his location to try and help him. So it says now here that on Owen's X account, he made that tweet with the Strava. So if we go back to the X account, and you can see that he does have this tweet that we looked at with the Strava account and the link to a run. So you can make an account, with Strava. It's very easy to create just an account with like a false email, things like, 10-minute mail and all of that. But even without an account, like I'm not signed in right now, you can still see this activity. You can see the location on the run. And as you go through, this one was, again, it didn't go exactly as we planned. The idea of this one was that when like Lewis did this, I can take no credit for going out and exercising. Lewis went out and did this run. And you can see the idea was that when he like stops in the shop, the location that's the answer, it was hopefully going to like give a large like dip for a long time, a longer period, so that you can see, okay, they were moving along this whole route, but then they actually stopped here, then carried on a bit after. But it didn't really work out that way as well as we wanted it to. But nonetheless, that's why I kind of said here in the question that I said Owen appears to have stopped briefly at a specific shop. So I did try to make it clear that it was a shop and not, some other kind of location, just to make it a bit more clear. And you can see that right at the end of the route, there's a Tesco Express, and like a Greg's, and then a bus station that he goes to as well. So the shop here that he goes to is Tesco Express. There we go. So now the next one, putting together the pieces. This is one where it mentions that there was some kind of argument outside the Tesco Express between Owen and his girlfriend. And we've been able to find, miraculously, torn up pieces of a receipt. And so it gives you a receipt image here. Let me grab that. So the receipt image is like this. And you basically had to piece this back together like a jigsaw to work out what the last 4 digits of the credit card are and the total balance of their club card points. And funny thing about this, it didn't really make much difference, but one of them is backwards. That was not on purpose. It was just didn't realize accidentally it was backwards. So luckily that wasn't one of the ones you actually had to find. But yeah, one of them is backwards. So first place to this was very dedicated and printed off the actual picture and cut out, with scissors. They cut around everything and really did like a physical jigsaw. I just tried doing this more digitally, where I basically, again, just took it into Photopia. And let's grab those. So this is kind of what I created, but just to show you as well. So I basically brought the original image that you're given into Photopia, and then I would just use like the lasso tool here. You can use various different tools, but this one is like the lasso tool or lasso select, and let me choose one like this, and then I would just kind of go around it. That messed up a bit there, but like this anyway, but a slightly better, more patient version. And then you can just right click, layer via cut, and it just cuts that out. So now you can kind of move this around, and I just did that with all of them and then did the jigsaw digitally so that I ended up with something like this. And now you can see the receipt is pieced back together more or less. It's a bit difficult because the pieces weren't all like super flat against the table, so they kind of look a bit distorted sometimes, and it doesn't all like fit together super perfectly. But it's good enough that you can get the answers. Mine is a bit messed up in parts here because here, for example, so here is the club card points balance. So club card points balance is 56. And then the card number is a bit hidden here beneath that part of it. There you go. So we can see the card number, not that one, the number here, is ending in 0218. So the answer to that one is 0218 underscore 56. So it's like with that one, nothing technically too like complicated or technical, but it was just a bit of a long process to have to piece together all of those things. And depends how you decided to do it as well, whether like digitally or actually printing it out and all of that. So then the next one, the gatekeepers. Following the heated argument outside the station, the witness felt uneasy leaving the young woman alone, decided to follow at a distance as the woman walked away from the Tesco and towards the entrance of a modern apartment building around the corner. And so this just mentions that she had some keys with a tag on them saying the number 701, and that this was the apartment building opposite Black Sheep Coffee on Wood Street. To proceed, we need the details of the registered managing agent responsible for this property. Your task is to identify the name and license expiry date of the agent connected to this building. So firstly, we can obviously go to like Google Maps, have a look at the location. See if this actually loads. There we go. So here is the location we're looking at. And we have Wood Street here. Then Black Sheep Coffee, you can see, is here. And then right opposite Black Sheep Coffee on Wood Street. And this is the Tesco, by the way. The Tesco is here. So this is where like the argument was happening. And then they go around the corner. And here they have Wood Street House. Wood Street House is that apartment building that they have entered. So we now know that we want the registered agent who has apartment 701 in Wood Street House. Now, there ended up being a different solution to this. Well, the same solution, but like a different method to finding it, because the registered agent has like the certificate uploaded on their website. So you might have found it through the website angle. But the intended solution for this was actually, let me grab the postcode. So in Wales, there's a website called like Rent Smart Wales. And Rent Smart Wales is what every landlord has to be on if they're a landlord. So, you know, any rental property has to be registered on this if it's in Wales. So you can go to Rent Smart, go down to the postcode and enter that. And then we know that we're looking for apartment 701. Now apartment 701, that then is going to give us the name. There we go. So is this address registered as a rental property in Wales? Yes, it is. Registered landlord, so we get the actual landlord name as well. I think some people put that in and guessed that. But then the registered date, expiry date, so some people also put this, but that's for the actual landlord. Agents, which is what we asked for, the agents connected to this registration, Urban Bubble Limited, licensed, and the expiry of that license is the 12th of the 4th, 2028. So that is the answer for that. So we have Urban Bubble Limited, and then the date that it gives there. But yeah, so that was a shame because, yeah, I thought that was the only way. That's why I didn't choose the landlord, because the landlord was like really easy to find through the Wood Street House websites and stuff like that. And then, so I thought the agents would be a bit harder and you'd have to use Rent Smart Wales, but then it turns out Urban Bubble has a certificate on their website which says that they're the registered agent for that. So that was a bit of a shame, but still. Okay, so then we have, I think, 2 more here. So we have hidden in plain sight. And this is saying that, unfortunately, the managing agent refused to provide any details regarding the tenants or occupants within the building, citing privacy and security reasons. So now we're looking for a phone number for the girlfriend, Amina. So look back through the evidence so far to see if there's anything we've missed that reveals a phone number. So maybe you already found it straight away when you looked at the initial imagery and you wrote it down or something. That would be great. But if not, then you would have to go back and look for it. And so in those initial images, we had the one like this, where if you zoom in, we have the number and the dog's name. And this is where in question 2, it specifically mentioned that one of the images the parents and the family was, curious and confused about is the one of him with the dog, because he's never been allowed a dog. So that was put in question 2 to kind of show that it's not his, because they don't know anything about it. Like, why does he have a dog here? He's never been allowed a dog. It's obviously not theirs in the family. So that would just suggest that it's potentially the girlfriend's, because she's the only other person really in this story. So that's what I was saying earlier about the fact I wanted to really spread information around so that you would have to take good notes and things like that. So question 1 gives you this image. Question 2 mentions the fact that it's not his dog. And then in like question, I think 13 here, it's asking for what the phone number actually is. So that is why you had to kind of take hopefully good notes, or obviously right now you would then have to go back and look for what the answer is. So this is the answer there. And then the final one, the quiet place. We have 12 solves on that now. And I think the first question has 70 something solves. So from 74 or 75 people starting this, and only 12 solves for the final one. That's really good for everyone who managed to get all of the way here. So with this one, it gives us an image that I will get up here of this location. This is another one where it's such a shame. Like, I intended for this to be quite difficult, but it ended up being so easy because you can just reverse image search it. Like, I was putting it into all of the different AI things like Gemini and all of these, and it was literally coming up saying it's in Canada. And then I said, like, no, it's in South Wales. And then it said some other random cities. So it was not finding the correct answer. So I thought you would have to use specialized kind of techniques like what we did in the previous week. But that did not end up being necessary because you can literally just, kind of reverse image search it. So again, my kind of way of doing that, I just bring it into Photopia. And then you can just use search by image and do a Google search for it. And this should come up with, I think it comes up with a few different things. Like this one here is the correct one. That mentions that it's in Barry. So, I think the question mentions that he's like in or around Cardiff, and Barry is right down next to Cardiff. And we wanted to use that because, again, Barry is where Gavin and Stacey was filmed and is based. So we thought Barry would be a fun one to use. But there are some others that come up as well, all around different places. Like Canada. I guess that's why the AI kept saying Canada. And see what ones there are here. Because I think there's ones like this which are correct. I don't know if it really mentions the actual name. I did come across one earlier. You kind of just have to have a look through. Like that's the correct one. Here as well. Yeah, this is the one. So this one has the statue. And you can see here in the text at the bottom, it says David Davis. And that is the answer to the final question. So it only asks you for the name of the person in the statue. So that's OSINT UK, David Davis. And that is correct. So that completes them all. It tells you here at the end that once you've solved it, you can go to the solution tab. And that then gives you kind of CTFD, the platform kind of messes up the formatting I did for it, but it's basically just closing out the story, closing out the case, says that the case is now closed, safeguarding considerations noted, no further action required, and that completes it. So, yeah.